What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Rome Legacy back again with another video. So this is probably the first time I've ever done anything like this, and I'm talking about anything like this. I'm about to do something epic, and you guys saw the title. I'm gonna rank 25 of my favorite fragrance houses or favorite fragrance brands in order. I'm gonna show you what I consider to be I'm gonna show you what I think are the best fragrance houses in the world currently. These fragrance houses hold a special part in my heart. They have created some memorable, everlasting impressions on me and some masterpieces. Now, once again, I'm not gonna talk specifically about a fragrance. I might mention one or two in detail a little bit, but we're just focusing on my top 25 fragrance houses. This is going to be an extremely long video, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to make this into two parts. So right now you're just going to enjoy part one, and in part two I'm going to put up hopefully the day after or a couple of days after that fragrance video does what it do. But I'm excited. But before we get there, before I show you these amazing fragrances, let me introduce myself to the newcomers. Once again, I'm Rome. Welcome to He Smells Like Rome. Here we talk about niche fragrances, luxury fragrances, hard to find fragrances, and those fragrances that's going to cause conversation. So if that's the type of content you're looking for, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon so you get all the notifications when I shoot these videos. You guys know how it works. You help me out, I help you out. And we're close. We might be at 5,500 right now. You know, I'm trying to get to that 6,000, and man, God willing, I'm praying that you guys are gonna help me get to 10,000 before the year is over. It's moving fast, so I'm excited, I'm grateful, and yeah, it's gonna get there. I know it is, because I gave it to God. So, with that said, if you're ready for my top 25 favorite fragrance houses, sit back, relax, get some popcorn. It's about to go down. All right, guys, so the first fragrance I'm going to show you is not in the list, but I could not mention this fragrance. How it is one of the most prestigious fragrance houses in the entire world, but sadly it didn't make the list only because I've only experienced a handful of their fragrances. Not saying that they don't have fantastic fragrances. All the fragrances that I did smell, they are fantastic, but I've only experienced a handful and I only have one. But it is an amazing fragrance. You guys heard me talk about it 1,000 times. And that fragrance house is Robert Piguet. Yes, Robert Piguet is an established fragrance house made, I think in the 1940s this fragrance house started. That's how long they've been out there. Maybe 1940s, 1950s. But they have an extensive catalog of perfumes, and they have some of the best fragrances I've ever smelled. Some unique oud fragrances, some amazing floral fragrances, and of course, my favorite fragrance that I've smelled from their house, the Intense. A beautiful plum, spicy, wonderful floral fragrance that it just executed making a unisex fragrance at its best. And I don't think anyone has done it this well, making a fragrance suit both genders, being able to, you know, cater to women that love sweet floral fragrances and men that absolutely love a boozy or plum-like fragrance. So if you want a fragrance that has a beautiful plum note, has a, you know, a kind of pizzazz when it comes to spices, but just execute, like I said before, a elegant, beautiful floral note, this is the one you gotta grab. But sadly, it didn't make the top 25 list. This is just an honorable mention. Go check it out though. But let's go ahead and get to the top 25. Okay, so number 25 in the list is a fragrance house that I came across about 5 years now. 5 years ago. And met the perfumer, met the creator of the brand. A genius when it comes to making fragrances. This man has executed some of the most exotic, some of the most sought out gourmand fragrances I've ever come across. And that fragrance house I'm talking about is Maison de Darius. Yes, this is a fragrance house created by a self-taught perfumer that not only made fragrances from scratch, not only created some beautiful fragrances like this one, Notorietta, but made the packaging, made the bottle design. Everything came from him. It didn't happen with a team of people. So I give him kudos because he came out of, the typical, urban community that really don't get any handouts and decided to make something flourish and make something great. And when I tell you he got some bangers, not only Notorietta, you got Kandaka, you have Azor, and one of the fragrances that I need you guys to check out called Louisiana Zen, a beautiful take on almond, lemon zest, and almost like a tropical adult beverage. It is fantastic, guys. The house has at least 15 different fragrances, and the packaging, the bottles are gorgeous. But what made this get on the list, these fragrances are beast mode. When I tell you long lasting, strong, and just gorgeous smelling. So that's why Maison de Darius is on my top 25 fragrance houses of all time, my favorite fragrance houses of all time. And I need you guys to go check him out because he creates some bangers. All right, let's go check out the next one. All right, the next fragrance house I want to talk to you guys about, I knew and have loved this fragrance house since like 2013, right? They changed the bottle design recently, I think around 2016 or 17, but also created a new catalog of fragrances. And you guys know that when I show you this bottle, this is probably one of the best looking presentations when it comes to fragrances. And that fragrance house that I say is one of the best fragrance houses, in my opinion, is Electimuss. Yes, Electimuss is one of the premier niche fragrance houses that I would say is blowing up right now, because not only are they creating some bangers, but they are bringing more of our more popular, more noticeable noses into their houses to create fragrances. I know Christian Provenzano has made some fragrances for them. I also recently found out that Cecile Zarokian has made some fragrances for this house. They have some outstanding fragrances. For example, Amber Aculera, Capua, Overture, and not to mention one of their newest fragrances, Cupid's Kiss. So I'm telling you guys, go check them out. This is my favorite from the house. This right here is Imperium. A stunning take on citrus notes mixed with white florals and some of the most elegant notes like vanilla, saffron, amber. And when you get to the dry down of this one right here in particular, it's gonna blow your mind away because they mixed a wonderful soft oud with a wonderful woody sandalwood. I think it's sandalwood or guaiac wood, or a combination of both. But the combination of those with a tuberose, you guys, I'm telling you, this is a stunning fragrance that you need to get your nose on. But the whole entire house is fantastic. So I need you guys, if you haven't already, go check out Electimuss because this is one of my favorite fragrance houses, and that's why it's at number 24. Yeah, let's go check out the next one. All right, moving right along. So the next fragrance house, it's been a popular fragrance house because it's always introducing new fragrances combined with fragrance influencers or perfume reviewers. and I've had an opportunity to smell at least maybe 30 of their fragrances, and man, I don't think I've smelled one bad one. Every single fragrance I smelled from this house that I've had, sampled, or purchased has been bangers. And that fragrance house I'm talking about is none other than Navitus perfume. Yes, Navitus Parfum is an established niche fragrance house from Canada and the Middle East, if I'm not mistaken. I can be totally wrong with the Canada part, but you guys know that every single fragrance that they create, or most of them, is in collaboration with some type of fragrance influencer or reviewer. And I've smelled some stunning fragrances. For example, Sharita's fragrance, Nahani. I hope I'm not messing that fragrance name up, but it is a beautiful, light, delicate, but beautifully executed, sweet, gourmand fragrance. Of course, you have Chocolate Queen, aka Chocolate King. You have one of my more seductive fragrances, Luxe Absolute. And of course, you got this beautiful new take on a barbershop fragrance, Xenial. Some of the best fragrances in the world. This one right here was an exclusive for Scent Explorer 2023. And when I tell you gourmand meets Oriental meets Chypre meets Fougere, I know that's a lot, but tobacco, chocolate, citrus notes. I think there's a lavender note in here, but there is everything you would want for a beautiful futuristic take on a barbershop fragrance. And I would tell you, check out the entire line. They have some bangers. You know, Steven is one of the creative directors behind a number of perfumes from this house, and they have an extraordinary catalog. So that's why this is on the list. Navitus Perfumes, one of the best at 23. Go check them out. You can thank me later. Okay, so the next house I have up here, some people are gonna argue and said this should have been higher on the list. And I wouldn't argue with you, but you'll see why I put it here. This is an independent niche house owned by Vincent from Dreams House of Curio. And you guys know that I truly love this fragrance house. The creator behind the brand is one of the best independent fragrance noses in the game. Another one that has created not only the fragrances, but the packaging and everything that goes along with it. Like I said, Vincent Dream House of Curio is on the list. And just to be transparent, I have over 60 brands in my collection, right? Over 60 brands and hundreds of fragrances in my collection. So to narrow this down to 25 is extremely hard. But there was no way I wasn't gonna put this house on there. Truly, one, because I have not smelled anything in this fragrance house that remotely reminds me of anything else. The stories that are told behind these fragrances here are just, could be novels. They are some fantastic short stories that Vincent has kind of poured out onto paper, into a bottle. You guys have heard me talk nonstop about how gorgeous Orange Sunshine is. We have other fragrances in that house like Eidolon, that is one of my favorites. That is just this boozy, rich take on a wine, a cherry wine, that if you smell it, you know what I'm talking about. One of the best boozy fragrances in the game. I would say probably top 5. In my opinion, top 3. Ghost Dance, this one right here, a spicy take on an oriental, very resinous fragrance that is just, it's stunning. It's stunning. It also has some similarities to a kind of suede leather, but it still stays in that oriental mindset. Othello, You know, Othello is another fragrance that is just unbelievable. Super sweet, very candy like gourmand fragrance that plays on chocolate, well, milk chocolate and white chocolate and other nuances in that realm. But Vincent has probably at least 50 fragrances in their house, and you probably can see some of them up here that I have. But this is one of the best fragrance houses you guys need to go check out. Vincent Dream House Curio on the top 25 list. Of course it's going to be on that list. Yeah. Let's go check out the next one. All right, next up, this fragrance is, it needs no introduction. It doesn't. This fragrance house is one of the top crown jewels. This is Montale. You guys know that Montale is and will always be one of the premier fragrance houses in the game. The catalog is extensive. They have something for everyone. There is nothing in that fragrance house that will turn most niche lovers or perfume enthusiasts away. I know they get a lot of flack for having really beast mode synthetic like fragrances, but even when they do make heavy synthetic fragrances that's supposed to represent whatever that particular topic is, they do it so flawlessly that you can't help but to like it. Even though you know it's not a real rose, even though you know it's not a real coffee, but it smells great. And that's one of the things that made me say, yes, of course, I'm gonna put their fragrance house on the list. Fragrances like Chocolate Greedy, Amber and Spice, Arabian Tonka, Arabian Musk, like the list goes on and on. And of course, you know, I gotta talk about Intense Cafe. One of the best, overpowered, in your face takes on a coffee based fragrance with smoke behind it. It is a stunning concoction, one of the best fragrances in the world, in my opinion. I know other people would agree with me, but if you haven't tried this house out, I would urge you to go to their website, go to the local boutiques. Of course, you can find them online. And the one thing I would say about this house that makes them so attractive is that they're not astronomical in pricing. You're going to go from $100 to probably $190 at the most, and that's pushing it. Most of the fragrances lean between $160 to $180. So I think that everything about this house is attractive. Of course, the bottles are. The fragrances, I don't need to keep going on. You guys know Montale, a banger. Let's go check out the next one. All right, guys, so we at the top 20. And that next house is blowing up right now. They started back in 2015. You can't go into a fragrance boutique without someone coming in there mentioning, do you have this particular house? And that fragrance house I'm talking about is the Spirit of Dubai. Yes, the Spirit of Dubai is blowing up right now. They have some of the most rarest and unique smelling fragrances I've ever come across. And that's why I put them on this list, because one, you're not going to find them at every boutique. I think that they right now are only at maybe 2 or 3 boutiques in the USA. And they don't drop a fragrance every year. That is one thing I do like about their fragrance brand, is that they take their time to make really, really great fragrances. And I've come to love at least 10 of their offerings. From Maison, that smells exactly like a beautiful leather saddle when you're just riding on the back of a horse, or a nice new leather jacket. From Majetis, that smells like incense, oud, saffron, and a bunch of Middle Eastern spices. To Tarash, that smells exactly like a dry fruit hookah. Now, if you like a smoky hookah that has dry fruits in it and has a subtle spice behind it, that smoky nuance is just fantastic. And of course, I have a barrage here, which in my opinion is the sleeper of the first collection. I thought that this was going to be a fragrance that I wore in the summer because it has some, you know, aromatic citrus notes, but the woody tones and the creaminess in this fragrance really makes this fragrance shine for the fall and winter. And I'm telling you guys, if you want a house that is super exclusive, that is super luxurious, go check them out. And I only mention chapter 1 line. There's a chapter 2 line that takes it to another level. I'll talk about that in another video, but go check them out. One of a kind fragrances, and that's why they are on my list for one of my favorite fragrance houses in the world. Yeah, we got some more. One of my next favorite fragrance houses in the entire world, and I'm putting it at 19 only because a lot of you younger guys won't understand the complexity, the heritage behind this fragrance brand. Anyone that's, I would say, 30 and older definitely understands the weight, the prestige behind this fragrance house. And it is one of my favorite fragrance houses in my collection, and that is Clive Christian. Yes, Clive Christian is a magnificent house, created back in 1872. If you guys don't know that they were commissioned to make fragrances for the Queen of England. And, you know, I have at least 5 or 6 of their fragrances in my collection, but they just create classic, beautiful, elegant, sophisticated fragrances. From Clive Christian 1 being at one point one of the most expensive fragrance, not one, the most expensive fragrance in the world, with one of the most expensive rose notes in the world. I think that they were saying that you couldn't even purchase the rose. They had exclusive right to this specific rose in one region for years before anyone else can get it. A beautiful, elegant, just wonderful, mesmerizing floral fragrance. And of course they have male and female version of this particular one. You have X, of course you have their new amber fragrance that is blowing up right now. One of my fragrance citrus Fougere fragrances, 1872, and of course my #1 fragrance in their entire collection to this day, and that is Cypress. This is gorgeous. Unfortunately, I think this fragrance is discontinued, but if you can find Cypress, go get it. It is out of this world. I would even say the new 1872 fragrance, I can't remember the exact name. I think it's like 1800 or something like that. I don't want to mess it up, but I'll put it up here. Go check that one out. It is closer to Cypress than anything else, but it still keeps the 1872 DNA. But guys, go check out the entire Clive Christian line. I would even give you a gem. There's a fragrance that was discontinued that is one of a kind, a must-have, called Vision of a Dream, or Visions of a Dream, something like that. Once again, I'll put a picture up here. Game changer. I don't know why they discontinued that, but guys, Clive Christian is a house that needs to be on your map, and of course is gonna be on my top 25 favorite fragrance houses of all time. Yeah. But can you believe I got even better ones? Let's go check those out. All right, so this fragrance house has reemerged almost like the Phoenix and has hit the fragrance community by storm. And I'm loving everything they drop. And that fragrance house I'm talking about, Sepporo. Yes. And I truly enjoyed Sepporo back in the early 2000s, like 2012, 13, 14. I enjoyed their fragrances, of course. But now this re-emerging just made me fall even deeper in love with this house, because not only their Middle Eastern influence on fragrances, but the education that one of the creators or marketing directors gave at a presentation made me really appreciate their knowledge behind synthetics and natural notes and blending them both, and also being able to tell you the history behind how they created their fragrances. Of course, the smell is going to, drive you crazy. They have over 20 fragrances in their line, and it started for me back in the day with Duetto. Duetto is what drew me to the fragrance house, and I searched and searched and searched for years to get this fragrance in my collection. But the level, and I mean level, let me give you an example of how far the barometer goes when it comes to one scale to another. You have a tropical fruity fragrance like maraschino, and then you have on the other aspect of that line Duetto, where you're going to have a unbelievably strong, masculine, spicy rose fragrance. It pushes the boundaries of your olfactory senses to see what you're comfortable wearing, and that fragrance is herbal leather. Now, this to me is one of the dopest fragrances in their line, because it mixes a fruity, sweet nuance with leather, and I've really rarely smelled that. Maybe I've smelled it on 3 different fragrances, but nothing like this. It doesn't compare to how this was executed. Of course, they have so many other fragrances in their line. I'll put some of them up there that you can see, but when I tell you Sepporo is a house that I will continuously purchase from, and I'm gonna tell you right now, if y'all have not tried this house, go check them out. A must-have in your collection and a gem in my collection. Yeah, you're welcome. I got some more. All right, so another astounding fragrance house that is not on a lot of you guys' radar, and I know that my taste is a little eclectic. I know that my the brands that I pick, that's not gonna be pushed to your face. It's not gonna be something that everybody's gonna be talking about. But that's what I'm comfortable with. I want to show you something different. And that fragrance house that I say is different, but you guys have to get on this train. Motif Olfactif. Yes. Oz has created some of the most unique takes on perfumery I've come across in the last decade. And when I tell you, I respect this man a lot for just stepping away from the reviewing part of fragrance creating, or I guess influencing, to make his own brand. Let's just take a gander at the bottle, right? This is an independent fragrance house that has created this gorgeous presentation. Metal cap, solid presentation. Cap is beautiful and the bottle is solid. And the smells, from the chypre fragrance to the vetiver fragrances to their more resinous kind of oudi fragrances, they have, I would say that he stays definitely on the heavier notes, the darker fragrances, but they are beautiful nevertheless. Every single fragrance I've smelled, I've said, yes, this is going to be a banger. Especially this one right here. Daituma Azuma. I don't know how many times I have to tell you. One of the best coffee fragrances in the world. roasted coffee from Africa. Sweet, creamy, smoky, delicious. Everything you're looking for in a brewed coffee without smelling like coffee beans. I guess that's the best way I can say it. It is astonishing. Wow. Go check the brand out. He's a niche, black-owned fragrance brand. And if y'all want to see him create some more fragrances, go support the brother, because you'll be missing out. If you haven't tried anything, I would say try the cheaper fragrance out and go try this one out, because you won't be disappointed. All right, let's move right along because we got some more joints to check out. All right, the next fragrance house that I would consider to be one of the best fragrance houses in the world, and it's a reason why this is on my top 25. One, they're just mass appealing. These fragrances just are that damn good where once you smell them, you can't help but to fall in love with them. And that fragrance house I'm talking about is Vilhelm. Vilhelm Parfums is, I would say, now has created a lane almost as significant as Frederick Mall. And I stand by that because their creations are very likable, very, I would say, simple in the note breakdown, but just done in a way that you're familiar with the smell in some ways. They aren't copying anything, they aren't duping anything, but they're just really pleasant smelling fragrances. From Mortal Skin to Eau de Fer to Stockholm 1783, I think that's what it's called, to the plethora of other fragrances they have. And of course, we're gonna talk about Morning Chess, one of my favorite fragrances of all time. A beautiful, fresh citrus, pineapple based fragrance that plays around with birch and leather. To have the contrast between citrus, zesty, fruity, and then change it up to a leathery, woody tone in the dry down, I don't think has been executed this way in any shape or form. Some people do compare this to Creed Aventus. I really don't see anything that's similar but the pineapple note, but you can say that about 100 different other fragrances. But if you want something that is a true compliment getter, go try this one out. Absolutely bananas how not only females go crazy about this, but the dudes be asking too, like, yo bro, what you got on? What's that? What you have on? And my wife, I'm gonna hook her up with another bottle of a fragrance that she really been wanting, but I'm gonna tell you guys, go get your girl Mortal Skin. I'm just saying, because that's a banger, and it's a baby maker. I'm helping you out. All right, let's go check out the next one. All right, the next fragrance house, some people are gonna be a little upset with me because this is one of the new fragrance houses in my collection. And it honestly knocked a couple of other fragrance houses that I would have put on this list off the list because, in my opinion, they just have better offerings. Not only the fragrances smell good, the presentations are drop dead gorgeous. And that fragrance house I'm talking about is my Giisha. Yes, my Giisha made it to the list because I instantly fell in love with at least 4 of their fragrances in my collection. And I'm gonna be getting some more because they just have really surprised me with not just the presentation, like I said, but the fragrances that I have in my collection all have done something that screams erotic and sexy in a different way. From foreplay to Infinite Touch to Overdose, and a few other ones I don't want to mention yet, but the reviews are coming up. But wow, I am in every way so happy that I ran into this fragrance house when I went to Scent Explorer. And I'm telling you guys, go check them out. Especially this one right here, Foreplay, is one of the most seductive fragrances I've ever come across. The animalistic notes combined with honey, pink pepper, tobacco, and vanilla just not only drives my wife crazy, but me too. Like, I'm over here just like really smelling myself like crazy. But if you want something that is erotic, something that is, in my opinion, just over the top sexy, Foreplay is it. But go check out the entire line, guys. This is well worth it. Alright, I got some more. Oh yeah, I got a few more. Let's go check them out. Yes, we're definitely gonna do a part 2 of this. Don't trip. This is a really long video, I know. But I had to give you my top 25 because I want you guys to grab some of the fragrances from these houses. Now, I told you before, I want to give you something unique, something that's going to cause conversation. And I hope that I'm doing that. So, the next fragrance houses that I want to show you are, some people going to yell, some people going to get upset. Like, Rome, this should have been in the top 5. This should have been in the top 10. I understand what you mean. They could have been. But like I said before, I got even better ones. But that doesn't mean that these aren't great fragrances. Absolutely wonderful fragrances. That next fragrance house, Xerjoff. Yes. Xerjoff, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a little late to the game when it comes to this house. Of course, I smelled their older offerings back when they had the kind of pyramid, almost triangle looking bottle, like upside down triangle looking bottle. Some of you guys that started this, like me back in the day, y'all know what I'm talking about. This isn't the original bottle. But I just wasn't impressed with the line when they first came out. I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of citrus-based fragrances. People were talking about Kobe all the time, and there was another citrus fragrance I wasn't really into. But once I smelled Richwood, Blue Hopa, I think that's what it's called. A Hopa in blue, I can't remember. Let's stick with Richwood. Richwood blew my mind away. Then the other 2 fragrances that was made by Cecile Zarokian, I put them up there too, sealed it for me. That's when I started to let me check out the line. And of course, being introduced to Alexandria and Alexandria Oriental, I couldn't resist. Wardesina, absolutely a fantastic fragrance, but I don't want to give credit to Xerjoff for that, because Xerjoff didn't make that fragrance. Sergio Momo, I'll give you credit on this. This is, in my opinion, a masterpiece. Richwood is another fragrance that is an outstanding fragrance. A very expensive fragrance, but one of a kind. They have, what is it called? Maison sandalwood in that fragrance that is probably the most purest, just the most purest, refined, regal smelling sandalwood I've ever come across. To this date, that is probably my favorite sandalwood based fragrance. Still haven't got it in my collection, but I'm telling you guys, you should go check it out. It is a pretty penny. Old Xerjoff fragrances are crazy expensive, but they deserve to be on this list because they make fantastic fragrances. Go check out the line. They have another line. It's an oud based line that you guys need to go check out. I'll put the name up here. But Xerjoff, an absolutely breathtaking fragrance brand that, of course, I wasn't gonna not put it on the list. Go check it out. All right, the next fragrance house right here, is probably the most exclusive fragrance house that I've ever come across. You can't find them in any boutique. You can't find them in any department stores. They have their own standalone boutiques across the world, and the offerings that they have are one of a kind. And that fragrance house I'm talking about is Krigler. Yes, Krigler is and will always be the fragrance house that is like an exclusive members only club. And it's for a reason. I just found out that you can make your own fragrance. You can get your own bespoke fragrance made by Krigler with their in-house perfumers for a measly $70,000. I mean, that's not too much, right? I mean, we all can do that, right? I don't know about y'all. That doesn't make a $690 bottle seem so bad. I'm just saying. I almost turned the TV off when I heard that. I said, and the lady said it so like nonchalant, like, if you want your own bespoke fragrance, it's only $70,000. No, she didn't even say 70,000. I think she said 70,000 euros. That's even worse. But I digress. The brand, the house, guys, is the definition of elegant. Some of the most famous, some of the most important people have had fragrances made specifically for them that are now available to the public. This one in particular, Oud for Highness, I've said it before and you probably read it on the website. This was made for a Middle Eastern prince, and it was governed for him to be the only one that wore this until he decided to say, give it to the public, and now everyone can experience this wonderful, beautiful, oriental, soft, just gorgeous smelling oud fragrance. One of the best oud fragrances in my opinion. But if you want to try some bangers, a boozy fragrance I want to tell you to check out, Established Cognac. In my opinion, destroys, and no shade to Raja Dove, but their Enigma cannot hold a candle to Established Cognac 66. Lovely Patchouli, one of the best, well-blended, sexiest patchouli fragrances I've ever come across. And if you want something a little daring, go to Patchouli Night. I guess the reverse of patchouli. I think they just like turned all the notes upside down and added, I think, an apple note in there somewhere. What else is another one? Supple Orchid. And they just released a new gourmand fragrance. I'll put it up here that I'm dying to smell. But over 100 fragrances in that line. And I'm definitely gonna grab a couple more this year. I'm not sure which ones, but guys, Krigler, a must-have. If you're looking for something exclusive, not only because of the rarity of where they're sold, but the price tag behind these fragrances are crazy. But they are well worth every penny, because you know, once you spray this on yourself, you know that one, you're gonna smell fantastic. Two, you're probably gonna be the only one in your state that actually has this fragrance on. That's how exclusive it is. And it has a badge of kind of a swag on it, knowing that you're wearing maybe a president's fragrance or a famous movie star's fragrance, and you have the opportunity to now put this in your collection. Go grab a bottle or get some samples, but be warned, the samples are gas prices. I'm just saying. Let's go check out the next one. All right, the next fragrance I have is a fragrance house that, for the life of me, I just don't understand why you guys aren't jumping on this fragrance house. I know a lot of people have said it's really hard to get. It's hard for them to ship to the USA. or they're really expensive. I don't get the expensive part because we're talking about niche fragrances here, and niche fragrances all are expensive. I mean, relatively speaking. But I'm gonna keep talking about them because I need you guys to experience this house, and that's the reason why they're on my list, because they are one of the premier fragrance houses in my opinion, and that is Graham and Pott. Yes, Graham and Pott is one of my babies, man. This is a house that I just instantly fell in love with. Royal Llama was my first experience with this fragrance, and it is to this day still the best blended gourmand meets oud fragrance I've ever smelled. And to be able to take something that's animalic, something that is woody, resonance, and then almost stick a beautiful pastry with fruit notes on it and caramel, just on paper it makes no sense, but when they put it in the bottle, it just took my heart away. Amber Meal, this is another stunning fragrance that I just say, if you think you smell the best cherry fragrance slash raspberry fragrance slash honey fragrance in the game, you are mistaken. This right here is the best one. I would say this and Bodacia's Bodacious need to duke it out. They need to fight for the title, and I'm pushing. This might win. In my opinion, this might win. And you guys have experienced Bodacious already, because that's available. It's easy to get in the States. But if you haven't tried this one yet, I would hold off on swiping that credit card, because this is well worth it. Oh, guys, go check out the house. They have over 15 offerings in their fragrance line. They have some fragrances I haven't even smelled yet, and I can't wait to get some of their fragrances. They have a ruby fragrance I want to smell. They have two oud fragrances that also have a gourmand take to it. One has a floral take to it that I cannot wait to get. If you're looking for a citrus fragrance, Night of the Realms is one of the fragrances I'm telling you. Summer in spring and summer, y'all need to pay attention to that one. But the house overall, Graham and Pott, had to be on the list. Yeah. On to the next. It hurts my heart that I couldn't put this in the top 10. And I wish I could, but I would be lying to you guys if I didn't tell you that there are some better fragrances. And the reason why I say this is at number 11, the fragrance house I'm talking about is Meo Fusciuni, is because this fragrance house is very, very abstract. Giuseppe doesn't make fragrances for everybody. He makes fragrances that he's inspired to make. And this is definitely a niche fragrance house. This is one of the niche fragrance houses that I say wouldn't be for everyone. But for me, they make some of the most historic fragrances in the game. And I say historic meaning that these fragrances 20 years from now, 30 years from now, I would even say 50 years from now, will stand the test of time. Nothing in their catalogs that I've smelled will smell outdated. And it's been over a decade and they still running strong. From Little Song to Lucy to Older 93 and a plethora of other fragrances that just scream unique, elegant, and almost an abstract painting. This is a house that if you have just you've gotten tired with the same old fragrance brands, go check them out. One of a kind fragrance houses, and this one right here besides Little Song, this is my favorite fragrance in that house. Eau de 93 takes tuberose, oud, incense, and smoke and creates a masterpiece. Yeah. What are y'all waiting for? You don't even need to sample this one. Just go order it. You can thank me later. Let's move along. All right, guys, we're going to take a small little intermission, right? I told you it's going to be a part 2 to this video. I just showed you 15 fantastic fragrance brands in my collection that I think are some of the best fragrances in the world, some of the best fragrance brands in the world. But part 2, I'm going to give you my top 10 favorite brands. This is a continuation, like I said, of the top 25. So stay tuned for part 2. All right? Until then, I want to say thank you to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for allowing me to speak to my peoples. You guys, I love you. Without you, God, none of this would be possible. So all glory goes to you. My fellow fragrance heads, of course, I'm going to tell you that I love you. God loves you. Be bold. Be righteous. Be brave. Read the word. Stay in the word. Put on the full armor of God so you can be prepared for the schemes of the devil. And I'm telling you guys, this world is getting crazy. But don't worry, because God got your back. You're his sheep and you're protected. I love you guys. Until next time, like I always say, it's okay if you want to smell like Rome. I'll check you guys out in the next video. Stay tuned for part 2. Peace.
Sports in the top 10. I can put a ball in the end zone, put a back to the friend zone. This shit sound like an intro jet song, give me that tempo. Told cool, he a fool with the shit. Told her don't let her friends know. In the building, I move like a dime. Eating fettuccine or Vincenzo's. I like to call it a passion. I can be sitting relaxing. PG, we getting some traction. I'm at the videos packing. I'm digging her accent. I got a beauty Simon belt on me, and she tryna get it unfastened. That's my type of distraction. That's my type of she Latin. Got my own flow and I'm